Psychosis comes with a lot of added struggles that you might not anticipate when initially going into recovery, right? Because with every mental illness, there's the onset when the symptoms first present. There's the duration of the mental illness when a person is like in that heightened experience of being mentally unstable. And then there's recovery, hopefully, for some people that, so choose to maybe take the route of therapy or medication. There can be recovery from mental illness. It's just that recovery doesn't look the same for everyone, and recovery is not always exactly what you signed up for. I remember in high school being so desperate to get treated for my mental illness and not having very much luck. I came from a town where mental illness was heavily stigmatized. It was not something that you talked about. And even once awareness did start to creep up in our community, my family was still very closed off about it. They didn't want to talk about it. They didn't want to acknowledge it. I was literally begging for help, begging to go to therapy, and being told that I was just looking for attention. So this seemed like, a dream to me that would hopefully someday come true. I wasn't sure if it ever would, but I wanted recovery. I wanted it at all costs. It's just that if you've been in mental illness and you've been in it for so long and you're so desperate to get out and you say that you'll have recovery at any cost, you might not anticipate what that cost is. You might not even be aware of what exactly recovery comes with. And for a lot of people, recovery comes with debilitating side effects of medication. And this is a really big deal breaker for some people. This is a very make or break equation in recovery. The do I or don't I take medication? What happens if I do or don't take medication? Juggling the consequences of either or. If I stop taking medication, will my symptoms relapse? If I continue on medication, will the side effects be so much worse that it's not even worth it? It's something to consider. For a lot of people, medication side effects alone are the reason that people stay non-med compliant. A lot of people do consider that to be a deal breaker. A lot of people, including myself, have gone off medication because the side effects are just so severe. And what is the number one side effect I hear about the most? Weight gain. This is a struggle I know all too well. Weight gain from medication is so much more severe than people may realize. Unless you've ever been through it yourself, you might not really understand just how drastically this can affect your body, how overnight your body completely changes and becomes unrecognizable. Maybe some people think it's vain to go off medication because of weight gain, but if you've never been through it, you wouldn't understand. Weight gain from medication is significant. So significant, in fact, that I'm going to dedicate an entire video just to this one singular side effect: weight gain from antipsychotic medication.
Take my hand and come with me into this crystal scenery and wait till I retain the ticket. You would never have the time. I would love to change your mind. You were there and it was good in the beginning.
Before we get started, I would like to throw out a trigger warning to say that the subject of psychosis in and of itself is a sensitive subject that may at times be difficult to talk about. So if at any point during today's video I say anything that may be triggering or upsetting to you, you are more than welcome to leave. In this video specifically, we will be talking about self-esteem and body dysmorphia, which is also a very sensitive subject. So if that is not your cup of tea, you are more than welcome to leave. Also, a disclaimer to say that I am not a mental health care professional and I am in no way qualified to give any advice, medical, psychiatric, or otherwise. Who I am simply is a person living with serious mental illness who is here to share with you the wisdom and insight I've gleaned along my journey of mental health recovery. So I have been medicated in some fashion for probably over half my life. Oh, most definitely, actually, now come to think of it. The first medication I took was not a psych med, actually. I mean, for some people it is because I was taking Adderall, but I don't take Adderall for ADHD. I actually have narcolepsy. And narcolepsy is a sleep disorder which is mainly comprised of excessive daytime sleepiness. And this is the daily equivalent of any normal sleeper going 3 days without sleep. So my everyday level of energy is like 3 days of sleep deprivation. So what do you use to treat narcolepsy? Generally amphetamines. And that was the first medication I was ever prescribed. And when you have narcolepsy, you are not given like the ADHD dose of amphetamines. You are given enough to send anyone on a rocket to the moon. So I was very heavily medicated from a very young age and still so debilitatingly tired that I was having sleep attacks through the medication. And I could go on and tell you like all the nitty-gritty specific details of how that went, but I think it would just be a lot easier to show you. When I was on Adderall, I was about 15, I think, when I started, and I was on Adderall for like over 10 years. And so in that time, I was thin. I was rail thin. And the thing about going on Adderall during puberty is that your body is changing and the Adderall is kind of affecting that. So until I went on psych meds, I just assumed that this was how my body just like was. Like I just thought that this is how I was supposed to be. It didn't occur to me that 6 foot tall women should not be a size 2. But I was, and that was my normal for a really long time until I went on psych meds. While amphetamines and stimulants in general may lose weight, like may lead to a decreased appetite and, like a lot of weight loss, psych meds, on the other hand, give you an increased appetite and weight gain. And I had been on, like mood stabilizers, antidepressants, anxiety meds before, but when antipsychotics got introduced into my medication cocktail, I ballooned. And the first time this happened, I was alarmed. I was like, wait, you mean my body can change? My body had never changed. It had always looked exactly the same. And at the age of, I think, like 25, like 10 years after having started Adderall, I suddenly grew in the amount of, I'd say, like 40 pounds. And while that's not the most amount of weight I've gained on antipsychotics, it was the first time this happened, and it was startling. This is where my first experience with body dysmorphia kicked in. Body dysmorphia is kind of like having a warped image of your own body, and it's kind of like a very, very dark sense of your own body. Like I would feel very insecure, very self-conscious, had way lower self-esteem when my body changed. I wouldn't say that I got fat. I don't even really like that word. And I think that fat is more of a mindset than like a number on the scale. But I felt fat, and I was actually just normal. I had been so underweight on Adderall for so long that gaining any weight at all made me just really uncomfortable. It didn't occur to me that I was actually finally, the first time in my life, a healthy weight. I was just, whoa, sirens going off. This is not normal. This is not happening. I can't believe I'm changing like this. I'm changing right before my eyes. I'm changing very quickly. I'm gaining weight within a couple of months, 2, 3, 4 months. And it was enough to make me just so self-conscious. The body dysmorphia of not feeling comfortable in my body, not liking the way I looked, really stemmed more from having a new body than not liking my body. Because when I look back at pictures of myself the first time I went on antipsychotics, I think I looked great, and I didn't think I looked fat. But if you were to tell that to me back then, I would not have believed you. I would have thought, I am a whale. I am a whale, because I have never seen my body change like this, and it has never changed like this so fast before, and I'm not used to this new body. I don't recognize myself in the mirror, and that, I think, is where the body dysmorphia actually stemmed from. Honestly, the speed in which I gained weight, well, that was a massive factor, because I think if I had gradually gained weight, maybe if those 40 pounds had happened in a year, I could have at least adjusted to my self-image as I grew. And it wouldn't necessarily be the case that I was having to buy new clothes every few weeks because I was growing out of them so fast. If I could have gradually eased into that body, become familiar with my body along the way, instead of boom, overnight being an all new size, it could have been maybe a little less psychologically damaging. You know, when you gain, as I said, 40 pounds in like 3-4 months, you don't really have time to adjust. And you're going through so many pants so fast, let me tell you. And the 40 pounds is actually the least amount of weight I've gained from like that side effect of weight gain. And it was just very uncomfortable. I remember for the first time, like feeling like the way my body moved, like it, as I said, happened so quickly that within weeks of gaining weight, I was like walking through a parking lot and just feeling the way my body moved differently, like how much farther out my limbs were because there was more like space being taken up. It was a really strange feeling, and it was new. It wasn't something that just incrementally grew, something so gradual that you wouldn't notice. It was so fast that there was no adjustment period. And I just kind of would look at myself in the mirror and think, who is this? I did not recognize my body, and it was pretty alarming. And it was, you know, even in puberty, my body wasn't changing that fast. So yeah, it's really, really hard on your mind. Not to mention, recovering from psychosis is very depressing to begin with. And as you are recovering from that depression, going into the new depression of self-esteem issues and dysphoria and, you know, feeling very uncomfortable in this new body, it's not an easy adjustment. And I can totally understand why people would go off of their medication for this reason. It is not just the weight. If it was just the number on the scale, it wouldn't be this common of a problem. It is how drastically your body changes, period. Like when I would go on like my amphetamines and lose a lot of weight, I also sometimes had dysphoria because there was this period where I was yo-yoing, where I would stabilize on the antipsychotics and stop gaining weight, then have to adjust the amphetamines and lose weight. And then that would set off psychosis symptoms, and they're very hard to balance the two. So with my weight constantly fluctuating, I would be dysphoric in the other direction too. Like I didn't like being too thin. More than anything though, I just didn't like not knowing what my body would look like without meds. I have been medicated since I was 15. I am now 33. And I have never really known what I'm supposed to look like. As in, I've never known what my body would be uninfluenced by chemicals, right? Because I've been very small. I've been kind of chubby, but I've never seen myself unmedicated to know what my body would be naturally without any influence. You know, like I eat a decent diet. I'm fairly active. Like I think that without medication, I'd probably be like, maybe what, like let's say like an 8, okay? Because my mom is like an 8 and we have very similar bodies. I don't know what that would be in like European sizes or anything, but like follow the numbers here. When I went on medication when I was 15, I was like a size 4. And when I went on psych meds for the first time, I became a size 10. Then I stabilized on the antipsychotics, adjusted the amphetamines, went down to like a size 2, 4. After that, I went up to, I'd say like a size 12, 14, down to 2, 4. Up to 16, and have kind of whittled down to 8. So that would be the past, I'm so bad at math, but like if I was 15 when that all started and I'm 33 now, like I've been like on some like peaks and valleys there. I don't know. What would my body look like if I didn't have meds? Like, I've just always kind of wondered. After a while, I did stabilize, which I think is probably normal with antipsychotics. I've heard this at least from other people, that the weight gain is kind of like right at the beginning, and then you kind of reach a point where you stop gaining the weight, and you might either stay that weight or whittle away at it like I have. It's been a lot of effort though to lose the weight, and a lot of people do ask me, how did you lose the weight? Because I've very publicly changed sizes. It's rather embarrassing actually, and people do totally say the meanest things when you gain weight online. But you know, I've made it to the other side of the weight loss, and it was really, really hard work. At the same time, though, it was an easy solution. It's just hard in practice because for me, it took working out, exercising, you know, and eating better, like changing my diet, eating less crap, eating more healthy foods, eating more protein, you know, less sugar. I learned how to ride a bike, and I rode a bike everywhere for like the entire summer. I got a gym membership and just kind of tried my best with that. I was going to the gym almost every day for a while, and I've kind of like dialed back on that because now that I'm working, I don't have as much time for that. But riding a bike was a really fun way of losing the weight. I love riding my bike, and unfortunately now it's rain season in the Seattle area, so rain season will likely last the next 8 or so months. And I just had to get physically active, and that can be really hard when you're coming out of psychosis, because part of psychosis is lacking motivation and drive, and the depression that comes with recovery leads to a lot of people not wanting to get up, not wanting to get moving. But when people have asked me, like, what did it take to lose the weight? Working out. Honestly, that was the best solution. Much better than starving myself or restricting, like, you know, how much I'm eating. You know, like, I can still eat today as long as I continue exercising. So that has been the best solution. And for anyone who is early on in their medication journey that feels discouraged because they're gaining weight and they think it will keep going on like this until they blow up, I assure you it does reach a point where the weight kind of levels out. It's just a matter of what you do with that weight when you reach that point. So it's perfectly okay to be in the active phase of gaining the weight. That can be really hard to avoid because the medication will make you hungrier, and it will also make it so that you don't feel full. I used to eat an entire large Domino's pizza every single night. And I was so depressed that was a large driving factor in why I was eating that much pizza to begin with. And so it's okay if that's where you're at in your journey. But when you do get to the point where it kind of plateaus and you stop gaining the weight, that is a great time to like really get active, you know? I mean, and if you can get active even before you get to that point, like as you're gaining the weight, that will be great too, because you'll probably be able to keep it from really escalating. It's just that motivation is really hard to kick in, especially when you are adjusting to this new body and feeling very discouraged, and it can feel really, really hard. But you know what? It's like they say in those 12-step programs, one day at a time, because I've whittled away the weight, and rather publicly, as I've said, I've publicly gained weight and I've publicly lost weight. And I think that's another thing I'd like to touch on. If you want to see what my weight gain and weight loss journey has been like, you can just track it through my short form videos, because when I started videos on TikTok, I was in that place with the weight journey where I had plateaued and I had lost some of the weight, and I was like this size. I think this is kind of like the size I like to be, or maybe I'm like meant to be. And I looked fairly, you know, typical of me, Carolyn. And then when my meds got adjusted last year, I gained a lot of weight really fast, got a lot of attention for it, got a lot of comments for it, and have been very visibly losing weight ever since, and have been getting comments on that too. So that's where a lot of the comments about like, how have you lost the weight? Have you lost weight? Come from. It's because I've been in the public eye fluctuating my weight for over a year now, and it's been, you know, a little bit of a topic of discussion. It's also been very, very, very embarrassing, but I also think it's a great like show for people to say, look, you can do this, like you can lose the weight. And I did it right in front of your eyes, and you can see the trajectory. You can see how fast the weight came on. It came on really fast, and how it kind of whittled away, you know, because like, I think that's actually really cool. Like if you can see through my videos, like all the way back through, I think like October of 2024 is when I was my heaviest. You can actually see the progress. And I think that's really cool. For that reason, I'm not terribly embarrassed. Also, I never really thought I looked that bad. Like obviously at the time that I was going through my weight journey, I was really uncomfortable, but it honestly wasn't until people were trolling me for my weight that I felt self-conscious. I liked the way I looked. I had been so used to the yo-yoing after so many years of it that it didn't really bother me anymore. Like I'd gotten through the dysphoria, and I had come to accept that my weight is just going to forever be changing. And I came to just like that, like not the weight change, but like my body. I'd reached a point where I liked my body despite whatever it may look like. I liked it small. I liked it big. I liked it no matter what. You know, I live with chronic illnesses, and being able to have a body that works correctly was more important to me than whether I looked good in jeans. It was really hard to get to that point, but like after gaining the most weight I ever did, which was 70 pounds on psych meds when I went on Seroquel. Seroquel makes you eat a lot of food in the middle of the night, it turns out. After that, like I stopped really being so concerned about the image, and was like, look, this is medical. This is a side effect. This is not your fault. This is just how it's got to be. And something broke through in my mind where I stopped feeling dysphoric, where I all of a sudden was like celebrating my bodies and being like, yay, I've got hips. Who knew I could have hips? Like that was the third time that I had yo-yoed, and at that point stopped feeling any shame whatsoever. The weight gain doesn't have to be a bad thing. It's just an alarming thing. It's an uncomfortable thing, and it's so visible, and like you would see in the trajectory of my weight journey over the course of my videos, it can come on very quickly and be hard to lose. And there's so many reasons for why it's discouraging. The unfamiliarity of your body, not recognizing your body in the mirror, having to adjust to an all new body, having to adjust to it quickly, having it all come on so fast all at once. You know, it's really hard to live with, but it doesn't have to be the case that this is a deal breaker side effect for you. It does not have to be the case that you go off of your psych meds because it feels that awful. It's just really hard. It's really hard to lose the weight, and it's really hard to have acceptance of your body, but it is possible. And I feel that if anyone feels discouraged on their journey, and you know they're struggling with their weight, maybe look at some pictures of me, you know, from before and after and during, and all of the sizes I've been, all of the colors my hair has been. You know, I have looked so many different ways, and when I look back now on my body, like I think I liked it at all sizes. Like I feel at times I was a little too thin, maybe it was a little too chonky, but I don't dislike my body, and I think I looked pretty good at all of those sizes. And so long as I like what I looked like, that's all that matters. It doesn't matter if other people think I was fat. It doesn't matter if other people made rumors that I had anorexia. At the end of the day, I'm comfortable in my body, and that's all that matters. So that's really all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching my video. I truly appreciate it. I hope all of you out there who, like me, may have struggled with your weight or are presently struggling with your weight, find acceptance in your body and learn to love that about yourself. I'm sure, even if you don't think you look great, I'd probably think you look great because I love everybody. See what I did there? Anyway, let me know in the comments what you thought of this video, if you can relate at all, and be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications to my future videos while you're at it. I have ads for my merch running below the video. Check out my shop because I designed all the art myself. I put up videos every Thursday/Friday, so if you're interested in more, there will be plenty coming soon. And I'll see you all in the next one. Thanks. Bye. So close your eyes.